Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for joining me for another episode today. Going to take a look at another group of cards here that I pulled at a hobby shop in Plainfield, Connecticut that I went to a while back. So I showed an earlier video with maybe like 15 or 20 Griffey cards that I pulled out of his boxes. This is a shop that's been open since I was a kid. And still has kind of those old school monster boxes broken down alphabetically by player. And all the cards are just top loaded or sleeved inside, and you can kind of just browse around and put a stack together. This shop's been open since the late 80s, and I used to actually go to this same shop in the early 90s with my dad and brother. And some of these cards, it looks like they're in the same top loaders as I think I mentioned that they may have been in back in the 90s. They look a little yellowed and beat, so these don't all present that well. I may remove some of them here if the cases are really nasty, but let's take a look at a little bit more of my haul. So focused really on just like maybe two or three, I'd say three main players here outside of Griffey. And the first of those is Cal Ripken. So he was one of my favorites growing up. I've mentioned that a few times on the channel, and I grabbed this all-star rookie team card of his just because of the shine. Love that sort of concentric ring of shiny stars, rainbow shine stars that are moving towards the center of the card, and just thought that would be a cool one for my little Ripken collection. I don't collect him all that much, but I will stick that probably in my baseball Z folio and enjoy its shiny glory. And speaking of shiny Ripken cards, here's another one. This is a Leaf Limited. And I think this may just be a base card actually, but it does have a really nice foil texture to it, and must not be a base card actually. I take that back because you can see in the upper right here, it is card number 7 of 24. So that's just another cool Ripken there. Here's one that I didn't have. I have the base version of this card and always loved it. This is kind of beat, so I'll take it out here. But couldn't pass up an opportunity to get the gold winner Cal Ripken. Love this shot of Cal in front of the Lou Gehrig statue, I believe at Yankee Stadium. Just a really cool photograph, one of the many nice photographs that exist in the 92 Topps release, and was happy to grab that gold winner. Here's what I'm talking about with the top loaders. This thing is straight up yellow, but a pretty cool 84 Topps Darryl Strawberry here. I'm not sure if this is technically a rookie card because he was in the 83 traded set, so this is maybe more accurately his first, flagship base Topps card, but it's one that I didn't think I had, and I was actually also impressed with the overall condition of this one. It's in really good shape for being in a very yellowed old top loader, so I think we'll spruce him up and get him into a new home, and Darryl will be looking like $1 million. Happy to have grabbed that one. Here's one more odd one that just kind of came out of nowhere. I just ran across this in a stack and thought it would be a cool addition to my basketball Z folio. It's a die cut and extremely shiny Shaq card from his career. I think this is a playing career card. I'm not really very up to speed on my basketball, but it looks like this is from 2000 Hoops or Skybox. So it's about a 20-year-old insert, and just thought that was pretty neat. So I don't really know anything about it, but it'll be going into my basketball Z folio as soon as this episode ends. And then the guy that I picked up probably the most cards from as far as today's subjects was Nolan Ryan. He was another of my big three growing up alongside Cal Ripken and Will Clark. And grabbed this one here, Pacific. Shout out to Peeps, who did an episode, one of his Peeps pickups on some of these shiny Pacific cards a while back, and I actually was in the shop only maybe a week or two after that episode aired and ran across this Nolan Ryan, and immediately made me think of that great Peeps pickups, and I knew I didn't have this Ryan, and decided to grab this one for my collection of the Texas Express. So we'll get him in place here. Look at the shine on that. That is an awesome Nolan Ryan card right there. Here's a 92 Ryan, but this is the O-Pee-Chee version. I think I only had the tops prior to this, so scooped this one up even though it wasn't super expensive. To go along with the Cal Ripken gold winner, I also have the gold winner of the record breaker Nolan Ryan card from the set, so thought that just was a nice one to pair with the Cal Ripken here. So ended up grabbing two of those winners. Here's one. I always loved the 94 Stadium Club set, even though it's kind of dated with the in terms of like the font that was used here on the player names. But I just have a soft spot for this set because I was at a very kind of impressionable age and have some memories of collecting this with some childhood friends, and was happy to get this tip of the cap Nolan Ryan base card. And this is the gold rainbow variant. You can see on his last name, that's really how you can tell the difference. They have a gold rainbow background on the last name on these parallels. Nothing super valuable, but might be worth a few bucks, and just a cool one that I knew I didn't have in my Ryan collection prior. He had a whole bunch of these Quaker chewy granola bars, and Nolan Ryan. I love these oddball and food issue cards from the 80s. And so I actually picked up 2 of these just because they were in really decent shape. They look very, very mint, and I figure I'll sleeve those up and maybe I'll send one out in a trade at some point. One of my favorite sets of the 80s, 84 Donruss. And although I already have the complete set in a binder, I couldn't resist the opportunity to add another Nolan Ryan, on the cheap. So I think these, largely broke down to about $1 a card when the dust settled, with a couple of exceptions, which we'll get to towards the end of the video. But, for $1, get a second copy of that 84 Donruss Ryan. I was sold on that. Then they had a couple, and I'm going to take these out of the cases because it's not doing them any justice. In fact, they're not even in penny sleeves in the cases, which is a pet peeve of mine. But I found some of these. I think they're from 1999, from the Finest release maybe, or the Topps Chrome release, and they're essentially reprints of Nolan Ryan's playing era cards done on chromium stock. And I got a couple of them here. I'm having trouble getting one out of its sleeve. I think the years have maybe trapped this one in a little bit. Okay, there we go. So picked up 2 of these base chrome cards. I do need to kind of clean them off a little bit, I think, but here's the chrome version of his 88 card, his 88 base card. And I think this chrome set kind of paralleled his entire career run. So I was happy to get that one, the 88. And then in addition to that, also got his first solo card. So obviously his rookie card he shared with Jerry Koosman, fellow pitcher of the Mets. So his 69 release was his very first solo Topps flagship card, and was also able to rescue the chrome version of that one out of these boxes. So those 2 are kind of a decent start on that. I may at some point try to pursue the rest of those. I don't know how expensive they are, but if they're not mind-boggling, it would be kind of cool to put together a run of those chromes that spans his entire career. Along those lines, this one I'm pretty proud of. One of the Nolan Ryans that was from that set in the box was actually a refractor, which is more desirable, obviously, and rarer than the 2 base ones that we just looked at. And it was his 79 Topps release, and these refractors just look amazing. This is a little bit OC, off center, but what a card. It absolutely makes me want to kind of search out the rest of these. And if I could get some of these in refractor format, that'd be even better than the base ones we just looked at. So really cool card there. And wish there would have been more of them, but happy at least I got one refractor anyway. And then the last 4 cards feature the great one, Wayne Gretzky. So there was a very small hockey box there as well. Thumbed through that, and there wasn't too much of interest in there for me. I really just have so much of the kind of the junk wax era of hockey already represented multiple times over in my collection that there wasn't a lot that appealed to me. But I did grab 4 Gretzkys, and they are all from the 1984 O-Pee-Chee set. So we have, in the 80s, Gretzky was on like 1 million cards every year because they would do individual cards for statistical leaders and team leaders. And, he led the league in just about every statistical category for many years running. So here's the goal leader card from 83-84. So he paced the NHL in goals in 83-84. As we can see on the back here, he scored 87 times, and the next best player recorded 56 goals. So he paced the league by more than 30 goals. And so this is the card in the 84 O-Pee-Chee set that commemorates that. Of course, he didn't just lead the league in goals. As I alluded to, he won almost every statistical contest every year in the 80s, and so he was also the assist leader. So here's the assist leader card from the same set. Same concept here. You can see on the back, he recorded 118 assists in the 83-84 season. Again, just heads and tails above the next closest guy. He was just in a league of his own there in the 80s. So I think I already had both those cards. I've got most, if not all, of an 84-85 O-Pee-Chee set, but the price was right on these, and you just can't go wrong with vintage Gretzky, in my opinion. And these also were very well centered and in really good shape. So there's a chance, I got to look at my set, that maybe one or more of these would be an upgrade candidate. And if not, they're certainly not bad cards to have as trade bait or even just duplicates. So here's the third one from the same set, the consecutive game scoring streak. Gretzky broke that record as well in 83-84, so he got a record breaker card. And the back talks about how he registered a point in 51 straight games. That is one of the many records owned by the Great One that I'm not sure we will ever see topped. Although, honestly, I think if anyone could do it, it might be Connor McDavid. I don't know what his longest consecutive scoring streak stands out. I'm sure it's nowhere near 51, but he strikes me as maybe the one player in the league that could ever threaten that, at least at present. And then the very last card, certainly the most expensive card of my stop there that day, although I don't really know what these broke down to on a card per card basis because I bundled them all together. But here's a really clean example of Wayne's 84-85 base card. And this is the O-Pee-Chee version, which is more desirable than the tops. The centering is not perfect on the back, but is close to perfect on the front. Certainly very good by 80s O-Pee-Chee standards. A little bit of that kind of O-Pee-Chee cut that we know along the top of the card. But this is a really sharp example. I don't plan on sending this in for grading or anything. I'll probably just throw it in a one-touch. But if I did, I wouldn't be surprised if this got an 8 or maybe even a 9. Just a really, really clean card. And so even though I already had a copy again, just couldn't resist picking up one more to add to the collection. This one's in such good shape that I don't even want to risk putting it in a stand right now and dinging a corner. So we'll probably just end it there. That was just a look through some of my other pickups. A lot of Cal Ripken, or a couple Cal Ripkens, a lot of Nolan Ryan, and a few Wayne Gretzkys. So can't go wrong with some of those greats. I was very happy that I rated this shop. Don't know how often I'll go back because I think I really kind of picked the inventory clean, and they don't strike me as the kind of place that's really refreshing things often. But nonetheless, I'm happy that I stopped by. Really happy with all these pickups, and going to stop this and go ahead and get to scanning these and filing them all away in their appropriate boxes and binders here. So thanks for joining me, and I'll be back soon with some more sports card content. Take care.